It's the best.
But let's get over.
I'm doing that. I just need to switch over camera.
Switch it and pitch it.
I will.
So today we're gonna be talking about the future, the post-pandemic future of menswear. More specifically, what we want to see or how we're gonna approach it. Because you've had this discussion before and it was lost to the ether forever, unfortunately. So we're changing it up a little bit. But if you haven't already, listen to the episode on all podcasting platforms. Yeah, podcast.com. And read the essay on my blog, A Little Bit of Rest, where we talk about kind of what we are expecting to what we kind of predict about the future of classic menswear, what we're currently seeing, merch look, the street style, streetwear, the Seinfeld Sopranos look, the scumbag look, rugged Ivy, all that kind of stuff. It's all kind of happening. I mean, it's maybe not. It doesn't have to be exactly tied to the pandemic, but I think personally that the fact that we had to stay at home for so long has exacerbated the casual aspect of dressing up, and I'm kind of glad that some of the ideas of classic menswear are still are being kept alive even in this version. You still see wide leg pants, you still see kind of a high waist, you see some jackets, but they're all being worn.
Wide legs are coming back in the mainstream just for everybody.
That's
absolutely true. You're seeing all this kind of stuff, and the cool thing is that it's these ideas are taken out of tailoring and they're being used in regular stuff like jeans, work pants like Dickies or whatever.
I always knew this day would
actual
come.
legs.
For years, I would tell people, "Oh, it's on its way out," and now I'm right.
You're an old sea captain,
that's right.
Just pointing your finger. They're coming.
They're coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they're here.
So let's talk about we've done some predictions, but what do you guys want to see coming up next here? Like, do you guys like where menswear is going? Do you like the proliferation of everything looking like rowing blazers, the Noah, the J Press, everything kind of having the same editorial eye? It's not really like about clothes, but it's kind of very clear that these brands are kind of also looking at a similar viewpoint. They're putting the same message out there. Like, do we like where that's going? I don't know who wants to jump in here. No? Oh, all right, Kiyoshi. All right, tell us. Why don't you like this homogeny?
I mean, well, yeah, I think that the word homogeny is a great way to describe it. You're saying it's not that I'm against the look. It's just that has been done. Like, if you remember, like Ralph Lauren Rugby or Matt, was it like Mass and Oars or whatever it was? Like, there was a whole bunch of other brands like during the first hashtag menswear movement that just was the same look. It was just, Lansdowne Canvas, LL Bean Signature. Like, it was all the same look. It was just different brands, with maybe more white people back then than now in the advertising. Like, now they advertise a little more diverse, but it's the same kind of idea, like playing off like East Coast prep, Ivy, like whatever you want to call it. And it's fine. Like, it's great to see that kind of stuff have some new takes. It could use a refresher, but I think the reason why I'm not really into it is because when I first got into menswear, that was what was interesting and cool and fun. And to see it come back around again, I'm like, I don't really need that. I don't know if we want to get into like stuff we want to see just yet, but I think I'm losing my interest in it, even though that's kind of where my interest initially started. So it's not like I hate it. It's just that I'm not buying into it this time around.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Spencer and I haven't had the luxury of being a part of it, at least this far into it, until much later, right? So we don't really have. Well, I guess we do have fatigue, but it's not in the same way.
That's what they're saying.
I know.
I
I'm
I didn't say it
I'm
like that.
I'm a new old head.
But yeah, no, it's it's certainly interesting to see because I think this is probably the first time I've actually noticed the homogeny happening. You know, um, everyone always says, "Well, everyone wants to be like Ralph," but when I was younger, I didn't see a lot of people being Ralph. I saw a lot of people. What I did see was a lot of people wanting to be the Armory, and that's kind of like more like midway through hashtag Menswear. This is after Sartorialist. Everyone kind of did the whole like the photography that Ethan Newton had popularized, a very like dark silhouette, dramatic lighting on like tailoring, very elegant. You saw that from B and Taylor or whatever. And then of course every single independent atelier that opened up, whether it's in Korea, China, even in the US, sometimes the discerning ones always had very similar photography. I don't know if people had the same complaints back then, but now I'm starting to be like, yeah, everything does look like, you've got the young guys, modeling some kind of neo prep. They're wearing Madras with like a very baggy OCBD with like, retro sneakers or something, right? And
Yeah, a little
then
bit
you're seeing that.
disheveled. Yeah.
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 And I
just
I
threw on
don't
this
hate
three-piece
it.
seersucker.
I don't hate it just yet, but it is certainly like I wonder if we're like because we're so into it now, because we literally do streams and deep dives, especially on the Discord. We'll like we'll pick apart an aesthetic and we'll analyze the brand's communication. But I'm wondering now, like, oh, this is probably going to be less fun as we move forward now because everything's going to be similar.
I think
Yeah.
fits in a lot with what we brought up on the stream a few weeks ago about the way that menswear has been presented as sort of like an elitist thing, right? With everyone's got the classic car or the motorcycle or even like the really nice looking bicycle, and you're always in the city and you're always drinking something or smoking a cigar, right? And it's like that homogeny has existed for so long, and now all these brands that have previously homogenized to that type of content are now adapting to kind of what the new consumer attitude is. And it's not necessarily better or worse, but it's interesting how fast that they've all homogenized to what the new aesthetic is.
Yes. Yeah, that's it's kind of scary to see how they've latched on. I mean, it's cool to see how discerning they are, because before you could tell when a brand was being left out, right? Or they were being too slow, I don't want to say anything, but there's definitely a lot of, menswear brands that are still active today that still have very bad social media presence, who still look like, very basic and everything. They sound they could sound like like they're a candy. I'm just gonna say it like that. But and so now it's kind of like everyone's kind of gotten wise, right? And so while this could mean and we've got I guess this is kind of a new thing, but like this could mean that a lot of the stuff that we see are going to be all cool, because I think everyone's embracing wide fit, where before it could be like, oh well, this like there's no high-waisted trousers anywhere, you have to go custom, right? And now you're starting to see it proliferate, but it doesn't feel as special because all the brands kind of look the same now. It doesn't really matter anymore. There's not really. It's like that thing that Spencer said, I think, in the same podcast episode, where but you could go to J. Crew and walk out with a safe fit, but now you can go literally anywhere and wear almost the exact same outfit, right? Like a rugby shirt, Madras shorts, OCBD, cool retro sneakers, penny loafers, white socks, whatever.
I mean, like I said in the episode, I think a lot of this is like a consequence of a year of lockdown. Like that hit everybody really hard, and I think this might be one of
But that's even if that's the case, I would say it's still a big gamble, because even if you want it to be casual, you still don't know if the neo prep way is the way to do it, right? Like that's like, why didn't we see like more like like sweatsuits or whatever. You know, I'm not saying that that
I mean,
people
I
aren't
would
doing
argue
that.
that you did, because like Noah has a very robust sweats program. Amelie Andor
That's true.
has a very
Yeah.
robust
Okay.
sweats program, which Drake's was using in their collab with them.
Right.
Rowing Blazers has a sweats program. So like the only one that really doesn't is Drake's. But now they have like cotton shirts, like tees and like logo tees and logo polos. So like
I think
they're
they've
like one
collaborated
pair of
with sweats.
sweatpants away from having like legit sweats. Like
Yeah.
they're
Right.
one SKU
They're
away.
one
like,
they're one sweatpant
Yeah.
away from a work from home.
Oh my god.
yeah. Like yeah. So like I think that I wonder if like in this past year, like because of COVID, like they went a bit safer for like this year, because they were designing this year's collection last year, right? So like
Right.
they're kind of maybe there was a thought of like, let's not take too many crazy design risks, like let's put out the greatest hits. And like that's always been like the safe haven for men's clothing. The last time like this whole like menswear thing was popular was again like 2008, which was like post like recession back then or whatever it was. Like that's also like when the whole Mad Men look took off, all that, and it was like the working like fashion theory around it was guys are going back to wearing suits because it's a safe place to put your money as far as wardrobe goes. It's conservative, it's more austerity, and I feel like prep and Ivy has always been an extension of that, because it's like
It's
these
the
have been
casual
around
look,
for so many
yeah.
decades. Like you can never go wrong with the Oxford cloth button downs and a pair of good pair of khakis and a nice tailored blazer, and like this very like safe, boring lane. I think it's easy for a brand to produce that because it's been not like maybe necessarily a bestseller, but it's been a consistent
It'll
amount of
continue
volume
to
you
sell.
can do. Yeah, like not too much of that will have to go in the sale bin, or it's a perennial style that you can have season after
perennials.
season. Even Drake's this year has the Drake
the
perennials,
perennials.
right? Where they're like, we're gonna have this forever, and they have like some weird jeans that I don't think they're gonna have forever. But but I feel like at the same time, like there's this idea of like, let's create like a safe haven for people to spend their money and make them think like, if we say as like Drake's, this is our perennial collection that will always be around, then you can feel safe and secure knowing that if you buy this, it can be in your wardrobe forever. And you won't also have to be like waiting for the sale, because the idea of a perennial collection is it won't go on sale theoretically. So you could buy it now or buy it next month or buy it next year. It's still going to cost the same. So there's kind of like they're trying to build like a price point value for that purchase for the consumer. So yeah,
There's
All of
I
us
think
saw. Sorry, Ethan. All of us saw like that sort of perennial collection that was never supposed to go on sale. All of us saw it go on sale last year.
Yeah.
Like I got discounts on stuff that I was never supposed to because no one was buying things. And so to me, that just said like, well, nothing's for sure.
definitely.
right.
Nothing's for sure, so just never buy anything, right? Just in case.
R.I.P.
That's
Drake's
the
UK.
motto.
Yeah.
I know,
also
right?
really
Yeah, I
quick want
remember
to
when they
address-
had that and then dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to really quick address his other comment. Maybe low-cost fun suits made from clothes will hit the US. They have hit the US. I worked at Macy's. We sold them for $99. 100%.
Oh my God.
No. What he's talking about is, so when I was at what's it called? Beams. They had some like poly or acrylic like sack suits with like wide leg pants, and they're made of like fake seasucker like double-breasted jackets and everything. And I'm curious if that's a good way to like kind of do prep but make it cheap because you're not using wool or cotton or whatever. You're just using synthetics. I'm curious if that because
like Zara,
something
like H&M.
Are these like
Yeah,
the
but
active
more-
suits, like that stretch, like 4-way stretch kind of thing? Like you can
Well,
throw
no,
them in
I'm
a
just
dryer
thinking
kind of
about
deal?
like how at Uniqlo right now they have like a hopsack blazer made of like polyester, but it's pretty like it's soft, it's unstructured, it's got brass buttons on it. It's actually pretty open weave. It's a hopsack, even though if it's made from a synthetic. But maybe that's what we're gonna like that's as these brands try and capitalize on maybe like the higher end stuff because sometimes that still happens in men's fashion, right? Like they just kind of copy what's happening at the higher end level and just kind of dumb it down, right? And so I'm curious again, like right, if we're seeing the Rolling Blazer stuff happen, these other brands like Uniqlo or whatever are gonna make like blazers, and 3-roll too. Maybe they'll be cut short, maybe cut a little bit tighter, but those preppy ideas might be done just at really low cost, really low quality fabric, because I saw a lot of that in Japan.
I don't think there's anything like that strikes me as like that why they wouldn't do it because it's just so easy. And I think one of the things you see from places like Uniqlo or H&M is like they love a collaboration, right? So you got like Jill Sander and
Right.
JW Anderson or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's not crazy to think they would do a small like collab with rowing blazers with Uniqlo. Like that's not out of the realm of the question where they would do 10 15 pieces that have some logos on them and kind of has like this prep idea behind it and just have a huge collection that's in all the Uniqlo stores. Like I kind of feel like that's definitely an easy way for both sides to get a win. Like Rowing Blazers gets a check and Uniqlo gets to cash in on a brand that's kind of gives a little bit of a halo effect to their other Ivy inspired things that they already stock, that they can also make at a cheaper price because of their volume, but so because they can source certain fabrics that kind of mimic or imitate like the real deal stuff.
Right. Yeah, do we want that? Do we want to see more polyester jackets? I mean, if it makes the style more accessible, like like the ideas of it, is the cost of getting it.
I mean, it's like one of those things.
No, because it's super unsustainable.
Right. So it's one of those things, right? Where as I think it's great that these ideas are coming around, but what we still have now in post-pandemic menswear is like they people still have the approximation idea, right? And to think about this came out like the episode we recorded like maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, because we did do that in advance. But there's a TikTok by my friend Albert, who you might have seen on TikTok, Edgy Albert, I believe. He's doing a lot of like menswear content, mainly focused on like casual wear. And he's talking about how like good spring summer pant OG 107s or like other like olive military chinos, right? And this even more popular TikToker like stitched it and he says, "Oh, get these on Amazon." And I'm like,
"Oh yeah.
Fuck that, dude. Fuck that shit." Like they're like stretch, and it's so ridiculous and slim. And it's like, did this guy even see what the whole point of Albert's OG 107s were?
No, they don't.
He saw it's like cargo pocket and green. That's what he saw. And he's like, "Oh, I got that on Amazon." Which honestly, like, that's what most people do. Like,
it sucks.
I can't tell you like at work like how many times have had people come in and no one searches for what the actual thing is. They're like, they see an image of something they like and they're like, "Yes, I want like roughly this idea." And they don't exactly want to clone it, but it's like, if I can get this color or if I can get like these 2 design points, that I think are cool, then
that's what they latch onto.
And see, they don't have the sickness that like I have, where I'm like, it has to be exact. If it's not exactly,
we talk about POV, right? It's like,
it's about knocking it off. It's not about cloning.
Right.
That's the biggest thing I have with. We didn't get to say this, I think, in the episode, but like the post-pandemic menswear, like these ideas are happening, but I think we're going to see it a lot shittier in the mainstream. You know, like that's eventually what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if like Amazon already has like AI that's analyzing
like brand watchers,
scraping like like you're feeding like a WGSN and like Instagram's like top 100, like or like just following like Instagram fashion and style and menswear and hashtags and just scraping it to generate like AI based trends. And they're like, well, we think we can sell this many units of this. And they design it in 2 weeks and put it out. And in like 3 weeks, it's in, a drop shipping kind of scenario at an Amazon warehouse in the United States. Like that would not surprise me at all if that's how they're developing their own in-house line of things. Like if they're not doing that, they're going to do that eventually. Like, so, and that timeline will only shorten. Well, they'll be able to like identify like micro trends, and because they know like their sales volume, they can kind of and they can figure out the audience of the people that are reblogging or posting these things. They can have an algorithm that says like, we think we can move this many units of this micro trend of this item and like pump it out in a week and have it ready to go. And advertise around that. Like that would not surprise me. I feel like that's like identified micro trends and producing garments based on that with like very like limited small runs, but are that have very high sell through. Because that's the number one thing that like kills any sort of production is like lack of sell through. But if you could get better at predicting it, you can instead of placing one big bet on a small number of SKUs, you could place a bunch of mini bets across a large number of SKUs with higher sell-through rates and make more money. I kind of feel like I can see like Amazon doing something like that.
It's going to be like a more streamlined version of those like things that you find on
like
eBay,
Zara,
where it's like a picture of like a Drake suit and it's like $50 brown tweed men's fashion wedding suit.
Right.
Yeah.
All the keywords.
Drops shipped from China.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the Goodfellow shit, like even like from a couple of years ago, where it's like, oh, unstructured cotton like suits, but it's just like shitty, whatever. Like I don't know, it's kind of like that
like
in a way.
$20 at Target.
Exactly, and you could get a cotton suit technically by having matching chinos.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and with Amazon, it may not even them even being profitable on it. Like, I think they would be happy if they broke even because it's getting you in the Amazon ecosystem of buying things, from, especially clothing from them. And they know, like, when you're shopping on Amazon, they've got so many things. People bought this, also bought this, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're spending time on their website and continuing to use it. And you're eventually going to go back and buy more high margin items over time as well.
Is that how we're ending tonight?
They don't even really care about the clothes. They care about volume and like customer loyalty to their platform.
Right.
Like it's not
It's
even
something
about
I'm
clothes,
not.
it's about...
I cancel my Amazon subscription. We don't buy Amazon in this house.
That's really cool. Where do you have to do? Where do you have to
brave.
go? Do you just go local for everything?
What? I just I live in New York City. I can literally buy anything anywhere.
You can do it. Yeah.
Anywhere?
They deliver anything on foot in New York
anywhere,
City.
Literally?
How do you watch Mission Impossible Fallout? It's not it's only
By
it's on
DVD?
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
No.
We use DVD-ROM in this household.
I find it on
what
other
about
internet
that?
sites.
So something I think is interesting is we talk about like price sensitivity, and I feel like to make to make classic menswear like tailoring and craft survive, I feel like it's probably going to get more expensive. We're seeing that with Drake's, right? We're seeing I forgot which was it Church's shoes or whatever that's like going to say, hey, we're just going to start charging more money for these shoes
Churches.
now. Like, what do we
charge more money?
Yeah, what do we think? I mean, like, I'm kind of scared that we're gonna get priced out of classic menswear. I mean,
Yeah, we are.
but from the good shit, right? Like, I mean, I'm
We can't
saying
keep
that
this up.
we're to the credit of people that are getting into tailoring, and I guess who are into it enough to do to post fit pics. It's like you're only gonna get Spirit McKay, right? Like all of these like mid-level, still very good, at least compared to like H&M or J. Crew or something. But you're getting all of that.
Ready-to-wear will get more expensive, but I think custom will stay the same or get easier, like cheaper.
Yeah, I mean,
Ready-to-wear is super expensive, and especially now that there no factories or wholesalers are offering any form of credit. Everything's on a cash basis. It's gonna get a shit ton more expensive.
Mm.
Yeah,
and the fact it's more expensive to obviously there's so much more overhead involved in ready-to-wear that just doubled because of the pandemic, because there was no in-store revenues. And ready-to-wear is going to get much more expensive, and I don't think custom and bespoke, I don't think made to measure and bespoke are going to get more expensive. I think they'll stay the same or get cheaper, because they'll be.
You think cheaper?
I think it probably cheaper. I mean, made to measure and bespoke has already been running on like a cash basis anyway. Like anytime someone submits an order from me, I then turn around and pay the factory, and they make it and send it to me.
David says maybe more Kickstarter like drop orders will become more popular. I mean, you've seen other brands adopt the crowdfunding model.
Pre-sale.
Yeah.
I mean,
Craft Clothing is doing it now.
Yeah,
that's they're calling it the Crafts Funding Campaign.
Yeah, but I don't think. Yeah, Drake's is going to get more expensive because no one's going to offer them credit. So basically, everything they buy has to come from cash flow. And if there's not a lot of cash flow, they have to find that cash flow somewhere, and that's by raising prices.
What do you guys think about like SFC, with MTO stuff?
I do think I feel like that's going to happen more. Like everything is going to be made to order. I mean, Craftsman Clothing is like that right now, where they don't carry inventory. Like every order comes in, and it's done made to order, or very loose, made to measure with very minimal adjustments.
Well, exactly. That's the whole thing. Inventory is the killer.
Yeah,
but that
if you carry inventory, you're going to be expensive. Yeah.
You don't want to hold inventory that's pre-made. Like
exactly.
If you're holding inventory and it's just the fabric, and you're like, well, we'll eventually close out this roll, or we'll eventually use up all of our zippers and buttons and trims. Like that's not such a big deal as holding finished garments in certain sizes. And you're like, well, shit, now I have another extra small I can't sell, and I have to discount it and lose, 80% of my margin. Like that's not a way to run a sustainable business, because then that affects your ability to carry a diversity of garments too.
Yeah,
because you can't really
your collection is smaller.
You can't do ready to wear off the rack stuff and be having to discount half of your inventory. Like you're going to go under, or at least not be profitable, which keeps you from expanding and offering greater numbers of goods for people to potentially buy. Like you can't grow.
So how then do you solve the sizing?
Well, I was about to say, I do not like the rise of made to order and made to measure because I can't try it on. Like I absolutely hate that. I need to know what it's like, just because everything is cut differently. And of course, I am not the target market here. I have a very specific taste. I'm very price sensitive. I'm very risk averse. I am also maybe not. I don't really have an issue with waiting for things, but obviously, if I could have it quicker, that's great. Like a week shipping or whatever, like at the most, right? But it's still going to be really tough, especially for people who, of course, who read the blog and listen to the podcast. It's still a very small minority of classic menswear niche community. But it's still, I think what I've learned from all these people that I talk to is that everyone wants to try things on now. Like they all see like the button pocket harmony thing, or they want to be able to grab the jacket at the end of it. They're looking at the shoulder seams and everything, and all of this is making it harder for them to get into, and that's why they start. That's why they kind of get into Drake's. Usually, the people who listen to the podcast, obviously, if you're into menswear, tend to be in a very comfortable income. But then now they're like, oh well, Drake's isn't doing the stuff they used to do anymore, or whatever. Or I don't know what ring jacket feels like, and I want pleated trousers, but I don't want to try Colaro because I don't want to fuck up the measurements. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I literally can't help you because I'm also struggling with that same thing. It's like
a lot of
that's
places
why
will probably start offering try-on garments.
Yeah, I mean that's
where it's gonna have to go. I feel like they're gonna have to. They're gonna see that
works, right?
Yeah.
Like you go to a guide shop and you try shit on. Yeah.
Right.
And like that's what we do with our entry.
Right.
We send you like a shotgun of garments. We're like, here's the size we think you are. We're also going to give you a size smaller and bigger. So like you might be jacket B but pants C and shirt A.
Right.
Okay.
And it's like based on those, like that's, and you try them on at home and do everything. Like that's how we do the fitting, like at home, like an at-home fitting.
I think Peter Manning does something like that.
It's not hard to do. It's just like the company that's running it has to be willing to put up the upfront costs of building an inventory of try-ons, because for every customer you're sending out a try-on for, if you're smart, you only send one package. But you're putting 3 garments in there. So you're taking 3 garments off your rack. So you have to hold inventory for enough
to
manage like the number of people you have. Like
which
for every
turns
person
into a vicious circle, right?
Right. And like, we get back garments that smell like dog piss. We get garments that smell like cigarettes. Some of them get trashed, so you're gonna have to make new ones. So like, there's all sorts of shit stuff gets lost in shipping. Some people won't return their shit for 6 months. It's insane. Like you will run into this, and like there is a lossage that's part of holding your inventory of just try on. So everything you do is made to order, but it's still, or made to measure, but it's still, there's still an inventory level involved and like a capital cost to like developing that. But it's way cheaper than having multiple storefronts,
right,
and having a lot of employees that staff like stores, and then like like you're working out of a warehouse rather than an actual storefront with like retail location and all that. So there is a way to structure this business. It's just you have to, if you want to do online made to order, made to measure, like, and people's number one obstacle other than price is basically not knowing the fit, you have to invest in tools that help the customer get past that. And I think we're seeing more of that, but there's not a lot of people at that point. Like if you're going to do a custom made leather jacket, like I don't know how many people are sending you 1 or 2 leather jackets to try on at home and then say, oh, I will make the sleeves 2 inches shorter. Like I don't know of anyone that does. That'd be great if there is, but that's a significant cost investment on the part of the company, and also like trust to send these garments out. You might not get them back. You have to be holding a credit card number. Like
that's because I don't care how many like fit algorithms a company has or whatever questionnaire they make you answer. I simply will not trust it.
Well, I think too, if you're going into any sort of custom tailoring place, there's a high chance that if you're going into like a sort of a shop, right, whether they don't have any ready to wear, there's a high chance that there are some finished garments lying around that you can try on and feel and see how they look. Whether obviously it won't be in your perfect size, but you'll be able to get a sense of what it's going to be, and you'll be able to see the sort of craftsmanship, and you'll know what the fit is going to be. Because there's going to be garments lying around, whether or other people's, or if they have like mannequins, those are usually someone in the stores, someone in the shop's garment. The only people there, not a lot of people make mannequin-sized garments because it's a cost to put it on there for seasonally. You know? So I mean, there's even without try-ons, in that sense, there's still going to be stuff around for you to know what it's going to be like.
Right.
And the barrier to entry is not going to be, oh, sorry, you can't just buy from Drake's, because it's too expensive. It's going to be, you're just going to have to actually, put the work in to, find the people that, we're going to do it in your price point, not just wait for, some blogger to find it for you.
But
and to go back to like price, I feel like that's the big thing too, right? Because it's like
price is going to be a big thing, yeah.
I think the one thing that we're going to see more of, and I know we've all seen this, we've been online shopping, with ready-to-wear stuff, is like stuff like Afterpay and all these other things. Like, frankly, like Afterpay was like, oh, it's 4 easy payments over like 8 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is.
But you got to get approved credit first.
Well, here's the thing. Like, the people that are going to be buying that's just wave one, and it's like the easiest implementation right now. It's that amount of credit for like, I mean, they're trying to do stuff that's like $500, $800, like $80, like, oh, pay, forced installments of $21 for this $80 item, right? But what we're not really seeing yet is the kind of like credit card financing that has been done at like Gap, Old Navy, Macy's, those kind of places. Yeah. And that credit card system, there's only so many retail point of sales they can be in, right? Because they're all, if you're that like credit card, in-store credit card company, you're going to go after all the major retailers first, right? And like they're all taken. Like there's no major retailer left to put your credit card into right now for an in-store credit card. They're all credit carded up. So the only things that are really left now are smaller and mid-sized players. And like that's the next frontier. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next 5 to 10 years we see basically like Gap credit cards, Old Navy credit cards come down to your local tailor shop. Huh. And frankly, they might even have better financing terms than what you would get ordinarily, like through an Afterpay or whatever. Because one of my clients, he is the CFO of a golf shop that basically like it does custom clubs. Their average sale is like $1,500, which frankly is pretty close to the average sale of a custom suit, right? Mm-hmm. And they have like 80 storefronts in the United States, and they're on their way to expand like 200 something. So in the next like 2 years, so
people do be golfing.
They're hooked up with that credit card company, the same one that does like Old Navy's credit card. And before, like the thinking around consumer financing of commercial goods was, it's for low income, people that are doing like cheaper product purchases. Those are the people that need credit. The truth of the matter is that no one has actually tapped into the luxury credit market. So like people who actually have good credit scores, who have up to, $100,000 of potential credit availability in total sum that any bank or lender could give to them. People that are high earners, people that play golf. So, and could spend $1,500 on clubs. So what they discovered was, they're doing a high single digits of their percentage of total transactions are using credit. You're talking people that that could pay cash outright, but they see the value in being able to finance their clubs interest-free for 18 months. And these credit card companies are gladly giving them basically the credit. They fill out on an iPad, and they're approved in seconds because they all have good credit. And the average transaction is actually going up on those transactions. So instead of spending $1,500, people are spending $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 because it's interest free. and my average payment is about this every month. Done. They don't even think about it anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that become massively available to a lot of other point of sales with like 1 or 2 5-shop operations, because that's the only place to go. For those places to get in more doors and get higher income people that are safer bets for them to give credit to, that's the only thing available. And no one has really punctured the luxury space in clothing yet. You don't go to Brioni, you don't go to Kitan, you don't go to Isaiah and get these credit cards, but you could, and it makes total sense that it would be offered. I really think this is like the next big thing that we're going to see, where a $2,000 purchase doesn't feel like a $2,000 purchase over 12 months.
Yeah.
You divide, you're like, oh, it's interest free. Cool. Like I can afford to pay $120 a month and get this really cool Drake's jacket. It makes total sense because it's not all up front for you. And even if you're rich, you recognize the value of having cash flow. So that's kind of, I think, the big like financial weapon that people could potentially use with small, medium-sized menswear businesses that hasn't been used yet, because it's a financial tool for your customers. And it just makes a lot of sense to me. We'll see what happens. So
I mean, on that same note about like weaponizing and essentially like marketing in a sense, do we think that there's going to be any other, like not just brand cohesion, but maybe like operating cohesion we're going to see? Like, do we think that I mean, I kind of expect and maybe want to see like regular drops, spaced out instead of just having like one collection, every season, or 1 or 2. It's like evenly spaced out.
Makes sense from a cash flow standpoint if you're in,
Yeah. I mean,
because you get to space out your orders with your factories. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you see, yeah, it's like, it's a streetwear thing, but it's certainly practical from an operational standpoint. Yeah, No Man lots of drops or stuff like that. Obviously, we've seen 18 East kind of do stuff like that. Rowing Blazers has done at least before.
Your operation
Thursday
costs
drop.
get more. It costs more to do that in terms of operations, shipping and inventory and staffing. But yeah, I think it makes more sense. It keeps people coming back
and more engaged.
Yeah,
with your brand, once a month, people are excited rather than twice a season.
Yeah, exactly.
I know I get more excited, when a brand.
I mean, we all know that you go on 18 East and those morning drops. So
I am she's the hype beast and ready. It's the only time I wake up.
That's the only time you feel awake. The only time I feel alive is when I'm waiting on a drop, when I'm hitting refresh over and over again.
What other things are you guys expecting to see, or that you want to see
Matt,
in the future?
What do you think the future? Like, let's hear your prediction.
My prediction of the future. I mean, just but with menswear. I was just thinking about like other people that are not my friend, like just fast fashion is still like so prevalent. Like all I hear now from my friends at school, just like, oh, I got this at Old Navy. I just hear Old Navy over and over again, and I'm just like so curious of just like, or Target. So I'm just so like curious when like, because then I also hear people that do like shop at malls, so they're just like, oh well, I just noticed such a drop in quality this year, but they're aware of it because like of all the shit going on. So it's just like, when are people going to break the tie? And I just think it's such a huge, because I've talked about this before, but with like Drake's, like they had that campaign, and just like, who's this for? Who's buying this? Like, it just like people just like cannot afford stuff like that. So there has to be some kind of like, we see this with Spear, so I don't know. We have to like just make it aware. So I don't know what that looks like.
Since you are around people who buy from Old Navy, because I think even Spencer and I don't really know anyone who does that anymore.
Yeah.
I think even our friends who aren't into fashion kind of still buy like nice button. Maybe it's kind of like Untuckit style, but like, a little bit more than just Old Navy or whatever.
Sure,
Why do you
sure.
think that the people are stuck there? Do you think that they're gonna expand now that we're in the post-pandemic, where you're seeing a lot more skate style or this kind of neo-prep kind of infiltrate the mainstream? Do you think that that's going to be enough?
I mean, I think that could definitely be an option for like branching out in the future, and like, because there are people that do like try things different, but like they still like Zara. So like, I think there is this like comfort food aspect to like, and like you said, or someone said, like trying things on, like people are obsessed with it, and like they don't do online shopping, and it's like, again, the comfort food of malls, and it's just like. So as we see that go away and things close up, they're going to have to improvise, and that's why I think some of these shops might be popping up, and then
at least pandemic has showed us that people will not just default, at least long term, to sweatpants and pajamas all day. People
just default on my loans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we thought that was going to be what's going to happen, but people are actively like rejecting or finding reasons to like kind of step out. Might not be like the best style compared to our taste, but at least it's the sweatpants did not win. They didn't start to just define what fashion is going to look like,
or like the most flammable like PJ pants you see people wear on campus, and like you don't see much of that. Like it's still like in their way. They're
you see a lot of dudes just walking around in pajama bottoms.
Oh my god, I love it. I mean, I talked about this. The campus look at the tight T-shirt and the tight joggers, the athletic. It's just like that's what you see. But you do still see, even if it's from the old name. I mean, that's what they praise, and they can't get over it. But it's still they still are pulling off like an identity, like an originality with it. So yeah, hopefully we start to get more ethical fashion and just something a little bit different. But the looks are still
what might end up swallowing the kind of old basic market. Talked about them earlier. Have last couple of years huge push in terms of like just making like basics.
Yeah. I think people are gonna get like, the mall is closed, and they're like, well, I already have Prime, so okay, there's something on here. I might as well just try that. There's nothing to lose. It's gonna get here in a day. I could send it back, and it might be hard. I feel like also when they don't get to try it on, and I don't know, some people, I'm kind of like this, where it's like, okay, I guess I have this now, and they don't want to send it back. They just want to commit to having it. So I don't know, and you probably, I don't know price wise how if it's cheaper or more around the same price. And I know like places like Express, they upsell for all that shit, but it's just like, I think you're right. I think we might see a push for stuff like that in place of these stores closing, or people losing trust in those brands as they drop in quality for some reason.
But hey, let me see. David asks us about what social media and menswear, more or less use interaction. I mean, again, I think we kind of hinted at it, but the cohesion aspect, I think a lot of people are paying attention to social media nowadays. I think more people are using it as a tool. More and more places are using Instagram shop functions, right? Like you can tap and buy. It takes you directly to the website. There's prices. You don't have to ask anymore. You can just literally click it and find out how much.
Oh, I like that jacket. That's what that jacket is.
It cuts out of that.
What?
That's a great question.
Instagram takes like a percentage of that.
They do,
yeah.
It's crazy.
Which,
oh my god.
I mean, that's enough reason where like, if you're like Polo, okay, whatever. You're already paying referral fees to like a million other places. Like Instagram's just another partner in this case. But if you're like us, like Home Madden, like we're not paying them shit. Like we're not gonna do
neither am I, man.
What I think is interesting here, so I think, what about like the community aspect about classic menswear or just fashion in general now? You got people rallying behind like throwing fits, right, and having fit check Fridays. Lots of people meet on that. We've got fucking like there's a throwing fits Discord, or we've got this Discord now.
About you and
how do you think?
Join in.
Why? No, I mean, sorry. Why are they talking about me? Not why should I join?
They suggested you as a guest.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and then someone posted the screenshot of us being like them, and they said, "I don't think you could ever come on the pod after this."
Wait, me? Like I wouldn't like after they roasted me. That's kind of funny.
Sounds like a dare.
I know, right?
Good sport about the joke. I don't think they'd be too salty to come on the pod. It's like, okay, so this is like kind of off topic. I don't.
Oh, yeah,
I never know what to say when people suggest us to go on the pod on the Throwing Fits Discord, because it feels like really tacky to be like, yeah, we should do it. Like that feels
right.
Hey, remember, I even said, I didn't text him, I DM'd him. I was just like, when's this happening? He goes, well, I don't know when. And I'm like, let's hang out at least. Grab a beer first. Oh, hey, It's not like it might. I'm not gonna say anything. I don't want to jinx it, but at least Lawrence could come on this pod. So
But at least you might fuck Lawrence after that beer.
Yeah, I mean, hey, one of the OG Tumblr guys, one of the new G Tumblr guys. I don't go on Tumblr anymore. But yeah, I think the social media aspect is really interesting. I really like honestly, I feel like the fact that there's so much community behind it is probably why everything looks the same, right? They're seeing the same people probably buy, right? Like, I am sure the Throwing Fits Discord people who do the Throwing Fits core of like the Neo Prep thing, I'm sure they go from Noah to Rowing Blazers and I can't think of any other places, but like they're probably seeing the data, right, of these people bouncing around. They're probably like, okay, well, we gotta do that. And that's why everything kind of looks the same. I don't think, like, I think it's much more than like Drake's looking at Rowing Blazers from a brand perspective and just saying, oh, we can do that. I'm sure they're probably seeing exactly how much of their audience also shops at Rowing Blazers. And they're just trying to, as we said in the merch episode, which you'll hear in 6 weeks, where, okay, instead of you buying that thing from them, why don't you just buy it from us? You know, if you want a fun cap with a logo on it, don't go over there. Buy ours. We make it. We already make your suits. Just buy it from us.
Buy the punk rock one.
Yeah, ALD. There you go. That's the other one. And so yeah, I'm sure it's happening from there. It's and you're seeing now these people, becoming more and more, I think, influencers. I know we've talked about this kind of before in the past throughout the pod, the blog, and everything. But like, you're seeing Greg Lelouch like moderating the Clubhouse like menswear chat, because that's what he does, and it's really cool. Even though he's the head of No Man Walks Alone and he has a great team there, he still takes an active part in fostering the community. I'm sure he knows exactly how important that is. I'm sure same thing with Mark Cho, right? Mark Cho might not go in Clubhouse, or maybe he does, I don't know, but you see he's the face of the Armory on YouTube, as we talked about like on Wednesday last week, right? Or this week. He's posting videos like every day. What is he wearing? What are the new products from the Armory? I think more people are kind of getting into it. They're seeing that maybe they missed out on like hashtag menswear proper. Like, these guys didn't hire a photographer, they didn't have a Tumblr at the right time, but now they're not letting anything go to chance. They're going on TikTok, they're making TikTok-esque content. Chad Park has a TikTok. It's like it's crazy to see these people.
You guys follow Maximilian Moog on TikTok?
Oh my
TikTok?
Yeah, he's pretty nuts.
Oh man!
Wait, who is Maximilian Moog again? That's
the German tailor.
Speaking of alimony, we're gonna have to watch that at the end.
He has a TikTok. I didn't know that.
Oh man, you got
that's
a
hilarious.
compliment on your Atelier feud
From Nadia.
Oh my god! Thank you so much. I love it.
Have the chat open?
Nope, not important. But thank you so much. I have a shitty internet here, and one of the things I have, the shitty RSM.
I'm keeping you posted. Don't worry. Good.
Yeah, look at this. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna follow Max right now.
Oh, you gotta.
Later. But I mean, what else do you guys think about social media and the future of pandemic menswear?
I mean, it's just like the fashion industry and social media so intertwined. That's never coming untangled. Unless the just social media has to like just like what we think of social media have to just drastically.
Instagram just goes away.
Have some people playing around with it. One of the interesting things that happened, I think, in the past year was like Bottega Veneta deleted all of their social media channels.
Oh my god!
Like you can't find them anymore. At least I'm 90% sure it was Bottega. Also, like the other thing that is interesting that happens with social media is a lot of them will wipe or archive everything, and then every time they get a new designer, like a new designer comes on to like take over the brand, like new creative director or something, and then they like wipe the slate clean for that person. So the one thing that like kind of bugs me is like I wish the archive was available, right? Like you have all these great, fashion houses, and this is more I'm talking more like capital F high fashion, but that have these incredible archives, but they're so focused on the current products that they need to sell now that they never really take the time to celebrate their history and their lineage.
Well, I think it has to do a lot with the creative director's ego.
Yeah, but it's just kind of like I feel like that's one of the like underused things, and like I'm waiting for more brands to be like what Ralph Lauren's doing, or honestly, it's all these like vintage prep brands, right? Like J Press, Brooks Brothers, right? Where they're like, oh hey, we hooked up with like wooden sleepers to show you some of our old shit and sell it to you on our websites. Like, I wish it wasn't as commercials. I wish that they would like actually go back into the archives a little bit and talk about these pieces, or talk about these collections and like give you a little bit of like anthropological background on them. But I get it. They're a store. They want to sell things. But I think that is kind of one of the things that I hope to see more of, where
I think you want to
these
see more
brands have been
experience
around.
driven.
Yeah, like give me a little bit of depth and meat to your actual brand's history. Don't just say we've been around since 1818. We're Brooks Brothers. We've clothed every president since the one that
what are you doing now?
Died. Yeah, like it would be great if they really like celebrated their history and not in the history of the button down collar. Like who cares?
Right.
Like nerd out. Like get some interns from FIT to work. Really go into your archives. Like kind of make your brand interesting. I think there's something to be done there in a very different, media driven way.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that. Like that's like the one thing I would love to see.
I'm
social platforms for like
TikTok. I'm honestly there with you, man. I mean, as you guys know, I archive everything that I like, and I think it's fun to reference the old stuff because the brands don't do it. The brands don't do it themselves, so I like finding
old
they got
Ralph books from 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I save all the Drake stuff because I feel like that's maybe that's our fault. Maybe we idealize like Drake's or something like that because we are able to see the old and we're able to see how far it's changed and everything, and I think the savvy brands are the ones who are able to reference the past in an effective way. Probably, obviously they're gonna try and capitalize and sell it. Like these brands who are like, okay, well we'll host wooden sleepers on the site and we'll get a cut of whatever they sell, right? And kind of
but they can't be making that much money.
Right.
Talking like a couple $1,000 max. Like I don't know, just
they're it's definitely
like
a PR thing. It's definitely it doesn't have anything to do with money for sure.
Yeah, at least right now. Like I feel like eventually, like all these other brands that we've seen, that like capital F stuff, when they start actually doing their own archival fashion, that's like a big thing. They're gonna cut out StockX. They're gonna cut out all these resellers and just do it themselves. It's gonna happen. Like why do you think Mark Cho owns Drop 93? Right, he wants to capitalize on all the old Liverano, all the old ring jacket stuff that's been sold. Right, like
to his own clients.
They're losing out on it. To his own clients. So it's smart. I'm sure we're gonna see it there too. But let's see. What? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, in all fairness, like Patagonia does this, selling, patching their old stuff and reselling it, or like recutting them up, making I know Eileen Fisher does like buybacks and maybe resells old stuff. And then most recently, I think one of the interesting things that happened was Raph Simmons. He did like a release of like 100 items from the archive, like from his past seasons. He like made them all available as like a 100 or something like that. Don't quote me on that one. I didn't pay too much attention to it, but so I think some of them are realizing the value of their past. But on the whole, it's a very small number still, and I feel like there's a lot to be mined and gained there, and not everything has to be new. You know, you could like, it would be so daring for a fashion brand to say, this season we're not producing anything new. We're doing, you know, these essential pieces that we love, or maybe some forgotten things that didn't get enough shine, you know, from seasons past, and that is this season's collection. I think that'd be crazy, and you get a ton of love for that and a lot of press for it, because it's kind of saying, you know, we gave our designer took a season off to like recover and like get their creative juices going, and instead they just were diving in our archive and found and put together like 20 looks from the archive, and we're just reproducing those. Like, I think that would be really interesting, rather than, you know, to kind of, there's always been this narrative of like, we get away with the 8th collection year, like, you know, these constant, you know, go. There's no time to sit back and really create, you know, interesting collections, because you're creating 8 of them and you have no breather, you have no time as a creative to really think about what you're doing and take the time you'd really want to do it, because of the fashion cycle. And then I think it'd be interesting if, you know, a brand or two were to find a way to break the chain a little bit and say, we put out tons of cool shit before, like, let's just run it. Let's just run it again. I don't see why you can't do that if Brothers can put out the same essential core clothing season after season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no reason why a high fashion take their cues from that, even if only to do it once for, you know, as a stunt. It wouldn't be the most ridiculous fashion stunt we.
Well, and there are some brands that can't really get away with that, because what do you do when you're Hugo Boss, right?
Yeah, you go into those archives too far, you dip into some problems.
Oh no.
We're gonna do everything after night.
Here's Hugo Boss at its founding. Oh wait, no.
Oh.
Well, let's quickly go through here.
Here's
like
Mercedes-Benz.
What's give me like 2 things. We'll start from the top here with kind of, what are 2 things you want to see from the future
Dicks
of
out.
menswear?
I would like to see, first of all, some good, and this was brought up earlier, some good non-editorial content. And I think, unfortunately, in order to see that, mostly video, to see that, the YouTube algorithm really needs to change, because it favors editorial content. And my only real YouTube subscriptions that I like are the people that are creating long form, deep dive, substantive documentary kind of things. And it's mostly about science and engineering, which is sort of, you know, on YouTube very much a niche, and menswear is even a bigger niche than that. But I really would like someone to try, because I think I would really enjoy it if they did it well. And I think, with the exception of like written content on like Heddles, we don't see really that anymore. And then the other thing I'd like to see, just from like the retail side of things, is maybe, and you know, maybe this is just my type of psychology that likes this, but I really would like to see some more consistency in product releases, just so I have some confidence about what I can buy and when I can buy it. Because being a freelance person, I have very inconsistent cash flow, and I think that my financial situation is increasingly common in this country and in this age. And
Right.
so I think we're going to need to sort of adapt to the idea of trying to convince people that now is the right time to buy something might not always work, because people are just out of necessity being made to manage their cash flow a lot easier. So that, of course, ties into what Kiyoshi was saying about the luxury market and how to offer credit for high-end purchases.
I mean, those are fair.
Have you
I
ever
like
tried
I like
picking
MJ.
yourself up by your bootstraps so you can make more money?
Stop eating
Oh.
avocado toast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I stopped eating so much avocado toast to afford my
And
latest
stop,
purchase with KG.
yeah, stop
Have you tried
ordering
making
expensive
coffee at
pans.
Right.
Yeah.
Jason, or I'm
What?
just gonna go through here. Jason, what about you? What are 2 things you want to see from post-pandemic menswear?
I want to see cooler clothing in the sense of not cool as in like streetwear, but just like when people like cool as in like people taking tailoring to different spots.
Right.
Because I'm tired of seeing like Kiyoshi said, I'm tired of seeing rowing blazers and Noah presented as like the coolest things. Where I'm like, it's the same. It's the same stuff that you've seen for the past 30 years. Just rowing blazers is on Instagram. And that's the thing, right? But I'd like to see, obviously I'm a, I obviously work in tailoring and I have my own tailoring brand. So I'd like to see, just interesting things and like loud, but like tasteful. Obviously there's loud like Robert Graham that makes you want to blow your brains out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a lot of like, cool, tasteful stuff too that, it's I just want to see cool in a sense of not trying too hard. That like I think sometimes Roaring Blazers and Noah, they come off as trying really hard to be cool.
Right. Yeah, just a bit more ease. Like it just kind of it's effortless almost.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really my take. I mean, I'm pretty jaded toward ready to wear, and I think it's a dying thing because it's just not sustainable under any circumstance. It really ready to wear is just a bad thing in general. I know it's easy, right? And that's the thing. It's easy to get into because it's great. It's right there. I can go home with it. But at the end of the day, most of it's made by child slaves.
Right.
And just you can't make that much clothing. It's gonna end up in landfills, no matter what it's made out of. It's bad. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not an offender. I mean, I'm a buyer, right?
Right.
But yes, I'm hoping that going forward there'll be less ready to wear, just more custom clothing and more unique pieces that actually speak to the person who's wearing it, and not not just like a standard navy suit, maybe a standard navy, but done up, with some personality.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Kiyoshi? What do you want to see?
I'm with Jason. I was very excited when he said cool clothing, and I will add a modifier. I want to see more like sexy, sleazy clothing for men in tailoring.
Yeah.
And
Silk shirts.
I really do think we're getting more of the androgynous kind of like thing, like in menswear.
Yeah, like kind of Bowie, whatever. I don't want to like define it too much because
sure.
I think a lot of people,
and that might mean different things for different people. What that means,
but whatever picture you have in your mind when I said that, that's what I want to see more of.
That's what we want,
and I want to see designers take those words and like do more of it and find a way to make it at a variety of price ranges. I would be happy if shirts were coming out that were $50 to $500, like or tailoring that went from like like $200 to $2,500, like and kind of taking that concept, because The number one thing I'm like super bored of seeing is just generic tailoring.
Right.
To be pretty honest, like that's bread and butter of like every single tailoring company in the world right now. And it's getting a bit stale to see the same thing be done by everyone just in slightly different fits with slightly different details, but it's
still the same
let's
thing.
make tailoring interesting, sexy, kind of sleazy. Let's make the roaring 20s of tailoring something super cool and exciting to wear. Not just this is a suit that goes to
Not
my
Peaky
office
Blinders
and I wear it to a
cosplay.
wedding.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and that I wear to
By
like
Amazon.
20 different things. Like make it like actual like going
court
out
fit.
tailoring. Yeah.
It's your court fit.
I want tailoring to be like stuff that you cannot wear to an office. Like
Right.
It's for like wearing out to restaurants and wearing out to bars and lounges and clubs. Like that's the kind of tailoring I want to see more of.
Yeah, thanks for the plug.
So yeah, that's my only one thing.
Yes.
I'm only doing.
So I'm gonna say it is 10:21, and I just had a video editing emergency come up, and I need to use my computer. So
Oh no.
Let's call it here. So thank you for tuning in. We will be back Wednesday where we're gonna be playing video games.
One of those video games.
One of those many video games, and talking about Menswear. So join us then. Follow us on Instagram, Style and Direction. You can also see our Instagrams right here, and anyone that joined in the discussion, their names are on the side. If you want to support the podcast, please subscribe to, or please become a patron of the podcast. Patreon.com/Style and Direction. $5 gets you access to Discord plus a bonus episode every month. $10, well, I'll tell you what $10 does. $10,
Please.
I read your name. Those names are... I want to give a special shout out to our Sadcast fanatics. Austin Balat, Shane Curry, Philip Regard, Audrey Jessica, Jeremy Ostreicher, and Guy Zhang. Once again, that's $10. If you can't support us with your wallet, you can support us with your stars by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. Yeah, we'll be back Saturday. Do we have an episode coming out this weekend?
No, but we do have an article about the bold colored pants.
Yep.
Woohoo!
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. We will be back Wednesday. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.